Welcome. Day two had some very interesting surprises for us in the fantasy football world. Obviously, none bigger than Shedeur Sanders not being drafted today. But yet the Browns are like, hey, we'll take Dylan Gabriel. That looks like a good plan. Very, very surprising. Really interested to hear kind of the behind the scenes as to what happened here, because him falling out of the first round, some people said that was a big surprise. I didn't think it was a huge surprise, but if you would have told me that he falls out of day two completely, okay, now I'm shocked. Like, I did not see that even as a remote possibility. Not even a remote. Like, even if there was incredible betting odds and you're like, yeah, you can put $1 down and you could win, $10,000. Like, I'd be like, I'd rather keep my dollar. Oh my gosh. I don't even think that was available anywhere. I don't even think it was available anywhere. So let's get in, answer all of your questions about day two, some of the running backs that did or did not go, the receivers that did or did not go here on day two. And of course, we had some interesting tight end landing spots as well. So we'll discuss those and answer all your questions. All right, Pete, what's our first question?
All right, Pete. So Luther Burden.
Okay.
Landing on the Bears.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy, kind of weird. How are you feeling? How does this affect Romadunze's fantasy value?
This is for everyone other than Caleb Williams. If you have Caleb Williams on your team, you love this. This is amazing. But you are already a team that had DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. And then on the first two picks, you take basically a tight end that's just a glorified receiver. And then you take an actual receiver with the next pick. It's going to be really. Can they not hear you?
Can you hear me now?
That's which one's Mike
check,
one?
Check.
You might have to pick. You might
One,
have to pick
two.
up Mike one.
Mike one.
I don't know.
Anyway, continue your thoughts.
So I think that's the tricky part is how is there going to be enough volume to go around, because DJ Moore just signed a new extension. Like, he's not going anywhere. Rome Odunze, you've got him for a minimum of 3 more seasons, probably 4, depending on what they do with the 5th-year option. So it's going to be a very, very crowded place. Is he going to have some massive boom weeks? Absolutely. Luther Burden has crazy talent. The talent is there. There was just always some red flags in his profile, and that was the thing that made it really, really tricky to trust him and to draft him and things like that. So I think he falls a little bit from where some people had him.
Yeah.
I was kind of already taking him in the mid-second. That's kind of where I felt comfortable with him. Somewhere between pick like 2.4 and 2.7. That's kind of the range I'm still in. So for me, he didn't fall much, but I know for other people that were higher on him, this is definitely going to be a pretty precipitous fall.
Okay. So at 103, would you rather have Travion
or Quinshon?
That's a question.
1 QB. This is very, very close. And honestly, I would not fault someone for going either way. So let's kind of look at these 2 landing spots. With Quinshon Judkins, he goes first, only 2 picks before Travion Henderson. He goes to the Cleveland Browns. Obvious fit need there. AFC North team, they're going to be, he's very similar to a Nick Chubb, who they were very comfortable with. He was an elite running back for many years. Kind of, I don't want to say a clone, because I don't think he has quite the same long speed, breakaway speed that Nick Chubb seemed to possess, but very similar player, physical between the tackles. Isn't going to be an amazing pass catcher, but he'll be used. I think he's better than people give him credit for in that area. But then you have Travion Henderson, drafted 2 picks later, in a situation that's a little bit more murky. They still have Ramondre Stevenson there, but it's really basically just a 1-year deal that's left in guaranteed money. So he's more than likely gone after this season. But Travion Henderson does a lot of little things that I think Mike Vrabel is going to love. He is great in pass pro. Mike Vrabel is going to eat that up. I think that's going to be something that's going to be perfect for him. Then you add in the receiving aspect, and this is a team that could use more pass catching options. So for me, if I had to decide between the 2, I am still going to take Travion Henderson slightly ahead of Quinshon. But like I said, I'm not dying on that hill. If somebody wants to take Quinshon over Travion, have no issue with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I love it. So chat, just so you know, I'm gonna go one older question and then a newer question. So if your question didn't get answered, still have hope. So Nick asks, does Caleb Johnson going to the Steelers move him up at all for you?
He moves up a little bit for me. So 2 running backs that I had ahead of him did not go today. I expect them to go pretty early in round 2. But both Dylan Sampson and Cam Scadaboo did not go on day 2.
Yeah.
So he those 2 guys, they have to move down your board to some extent. Now, I am still curious, is it something where they get picked with the first or second pick of the next round? Then all of a sudden the draft capital isn't that dissimilar. So then I want to see, where is the landing spot? Where does he go? Because let's see, Caleb Johnson, I know he went in the like mid to late 3rd. Let's see, he went with pick Steelers took him at,
oh, Mason, I like that question.
of course I can't find it now. Where'd you go? There you go. Pick 19 of the 3rd round. So in the second half of the 3rd round, I think he's a very good player. I think he's a lot like Najee Harris. They basically replaced him with the same guy that they just had. So it's a very interesting fit. They definitely have a type, but he's going to get volume. Warren will still be involved, but he's going to get volume. It's a good landing spot. So all that to say, yes, he does move up my board, but not drastically.
Okay. So the next question is, RJ. Oh man,
RJ Harvey.
Yeah, RJ Harvey. How high does he jump for you? That's crazy.
This was a weird one.
One of the craziest picks. Unexpected.
I would say this was one of the more unexpected picks.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there were definitely people that were there. There's an RJ Harvey hive that is loving life right now.
Yep.
And look, late 2nd round draft capital is nothing to sneeze at. That's fantastic draft capital. You add in that it's to the Denver Broncos, a team that loves to utilize running backs
Amazing
in the receiving game. Like, honestly, one of the best possible, scenarios you could have dreamed up for Harvey. I don't even think big RJ Harvey fans were expecting him to be a round 2 pick. I think the fans would have said maybe early 3rd. So it definitely was a surprise, but he has to be in consideration. We'll see once, we finish up with tomorrow and how everything shakes out. I'll make my big board, but he's going to be right there around the turn of round 1, round 2. When you get that type of draft capital to that kind of team. And this is one of the few scenarios where, I say, I don't like guys to change tiers unless they get drastically different draft capital than I expect. Going from, a late 2nd to an early 2nd or vice versa, that's not going to change things much, even 1 round. But I thought he was a day 3 guy. So jumping 2 rounds into the 2nd, like, that's a big jump, worthy of me. And I'm going to go back and watch more tape. Like, is there something I missed? Or sometimes the NFL gets it wrong. But Sean Payton loves his running backs. This is a great spot for him.
Yep. Okay. Mason asks, are we bumping guys like Trey Harris and Jack Besh? And who are all these other guys I've never heard at wide receiver? Nerd Herd plug.
Yeah. So Isaac Tesla, he was in the Guys We Missed episode, and I even talked about him in there, and I was like, guys, I'm kind of surprised at how much I like him. I might move him down a tiny bit. I feel like I'm a little bit too high on him, but my personal nerd score, he ended up as my wide receiver 11. So this wasn't as big of a surprise to me as it was, I think, the more general NFL community.
Yeah.
I was, I still even pegged him as a day 3 guy. I thought he was going to be round 4, but for him to get early 3rd round draft capital was pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah.
So he definitely moves up, but it's a tough place. Right now, best case scenario of pass catching options, he's 5th. I mean, you're going to have Amon-Ra, you're going to have Jameson, you're going to have Laporta, and you're going to have Gibbs.
Yep.
So he's probably best case scenario 5th in the pecking order as far as pass catching options. But it's one to keep an eye on, because if I know they brought Jameson Williams back on the 5th year, but we'll see what happens over these next 2 years.
Yeah.
If they can't sign him in free agency, he obviously profiles as a big slot or a Z receiver that could maybe replace that type of production, because he ran in the 4.4s. He's a smooth operator, and he's got pretty good hands. So definitely a name I'm watching. Some other guys, Pat Bryant, I was surprised he went that high. I didn't mind him, but third round seemed very, very high for him. Ty Felton, another guy, I thought he was a good player, but I didn't expect this type of draft capital. So it was very, very interesting. Some of the guys that went and some other guys that fell. So it's just, this was a year that we had talked about. We're going to find out a lot by draft capital, and we learned a lot tonight.
And what about Harrison Besh?
Oh, yeah. So getting back to them. So I love Jack Besh. I think hit that landing spot for him with the Raiders. He's going to have an opportunity to become their wide receiver one, probably still their second target overall, because we know Brock Bowers is going to be the main guy. So love him. He's maintaining his spot, if not moving up my board. I got to see where I have him, but there's no way he's moving down my board at all. Trey Harris is an interesting one. Great landing spot. He obviously it's Ladd McConkey's show. He's going to be the number one guy there. Yeah. So he could end up being what they were hoping Quentin Johnston was, maybe an off-brand of Mike Williams back in the day. I think that's kind of what they're hoping for. So we'll see. It's a good landing spot. I'm gonna have Besh over Trey Harris personally, though.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about, Nick wants to talk about the Higgins and Knoll pick.
Yeah, the Houston Cyclones, apparently. Yeah. So yeah, Houston loves those Iowa State guys. And honestly, they're good picks. I love Knoll. I loved his tape. Dude is an absolute blur on the field. I think he can do everything that Tank Dell was doing for this offense. Yeah. And then Jaden Higgins, when you have Jaden Higgins on one side paired up with Nico Collins, two very similarly built receivers. They play very similar. So CJ Stroud's going to have the opportunity to throw it up to some big play guys, but he's also going to have a guy underneath running around. Both of those receivers are going to be probably early, at worst mid second round picks for me, but probably closer to the early side.
Okay. So once again, Rome's not cooked, right?
He's not cooked, but it's not ideal.
Okay. And then you talked a little bit about Pat Bryant, but any other thoughts?
Yeah. So Illinois wide receiver, big guy. I really liked his releases. He got a good nerd score from me personally. I know Jared didn't like him as much as I did. So his overall nerd score dropped because of that. But he was a player that I thought had some upside, very physical wide receiver, could go up and get the football. He's not going to offer much after the catch, but I think it was an overdraft. I think he should have been a day 3 guy. But he was a player I was interested in, and he was on my board. And obviously he moves up with this type of draft capital and the opportunity that he has in Denver.
Yeah. Okay. Who's your 102 in Superflex? It has to be Hampton, right?
It's Omari and Hampton. Cam Ward is a totally fine option there. I have no issue with Cam Ward being there. Those would be my top 2 picks, but it's Hampton for me. So for right now, I would say it probably goes Ashton Genty, Omari and Hampton. Then you have Cam Ward. Then it gets tricky. I would probably today go Hunter,
okay,
Henderson, Judkins, McMillan. But honestly, all 4 of those guys in that tier, 4 to what would that be, 7?
Yeah.
All the same tier. Like if you want to mix those guys up in any order and you're like, I want Tet at 4 instead of, okay, that's fine. Or I want Judkins to be the top guy. Like, so I think all of those guys are very similarly valued players for me right now.
So what we always preach, draft for talent, not for need in rookie drafts. So this is a situation though that need in your team could kind of dictate that.
I'm fine with it. Take the best player on your board though.
Yeah.
Like I'm still sticking to the best player on my board. So for me, like that will probably end up being Travis Hunter, then Travion, then Quinshon, then McMillan.
Okay.
Because people are going to say, well, first round draft capital versus second round draft capital. Remember, especially top 10 in the second round, there have been so many good Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, like so many good, Nick Chubb, so many good running backs lately have been in that range. Like that is amazing draft capital for a running back. So don't let somebody like downgrade that draft capital. That is legitimate elite upside for a running back draft range.
Yeah. Love it. And then yeah, we don't hate the Travion landing spot.
I don't.
It's not.
I actually think that there could be some very good upside there. Vrabel and McDaniels love to run the football. So I would not be surprised if he's getting 12 to 15 rush attempts a game and then another 5 pass attempts a game. If you're getting 17 to 20 touches per game, that's a really good workload in the NFL, especially if it's in a PPR league and he's turning those passes into something. So and this is an ascending offense that still needs help in the receiving game, though. So that's the thing. Travion could really turn into a true weapon in this offense, depending on how they don't want to deploy him and use him. So I know that there's a lot of people like New England, ever since Tom Brady's been gone, is just bad landing spot. Like anybody that goes there, we're just like, this sucks. This is terrible. Drake May went there and he showed a lot as a rookie. What did they do in the first round? They drafted an offensive lineman. What did they do in the third round? They drafted a wide receiver. So they're showing that they're going to make a concerted effort on offense to improve this unit.
And a wide receiver that we actually like. Do you want to talk about him?
Yeah, absolutely. Who was, I don't even remember now. So many receivers went.
There's a reason why he didn't use his name. WSU. Kyle Williams. There we go.
Kyle Williams went there. Yes. Jared loved this guy. I really liked him too. I think he profiles more as a traditional Z wide receiver. So I don't think they got their alpha X receiver in this class, but I think he's going to be a very solid receiver. He's a good route runner, improved his hands from his junior year to his senior year, was much better at the catch point, got off the line pretty well, shows that good quickness in and out. So I like Kyle Williams quite a bit. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be their savior at wide receiver, but I think he's far and away the best option that they have at this time.
Great. Okay. So by the way, guys, we're at about 150 people live right now.
It's because people know where it's at.
If you haven't hit the like button, we would really appreciate that. And keep on asking questions. We love answering these. So Ben wants to know, are we surprised that only 6 running backs were taken the first 2 days in this elite running back class?
I am. I was gonna guess more in the 8 to 9 range.
Yeah.
If I think because of how shallow some other positions were, teams are playing chicken at the running back position a little bit. I think they are, and they think, okay, when a run happens, we'll go get our guy. We'll get our guy that we want. But I would not be surprised if within the first half of the first round, we see 2 to 3 running backs go in the 4th round tomorrow. I'm shocked. Honestly, I really am shocked that Dylan Sampson and Cam Scatterbu did not go today. Like I really, really thought they would go today. I thought their tape warranted it. I thought they were very, very talented running backs. So teams, I think, are getting a steal in this round by those guys not going. Curious, even with some upside guys, like, hey, where does a LaQuint Allen go? Where does a Bayshall Tootin go? Where do some of these guys that have some really high ceilings go? So I'm definitely keeping an eye out on those things as well.
I love it. So Ryan wants to know what the 201's looking like. Would you be fun just to say like kind of a really quick mock to
of sorts?
Yeah.
Don't hold me to this right now because I haven't had a chance to like write everything out. The second this 3rd round ended, we came right on. But like I said, I kind of gave you my first 7 in some order. It's gonna be Ashton. Well, not in some order there. Yeah. Ashton Genty, 1-1, no doubt about it. Omarion Hampton, Cam Ward. I think those 2 are kind of a tier. And then you have a tier of 4 players for me: Travis Hunter, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and then McMillan.
Yep.
So I think those guys are a tier for me. I feel pretty good about that. Top 7. If you're in super flex tight end premium, I could consider those tight ends there, but I think right now for me,
interesting. Okay.
I would say I'm really because I think the next tier is some sort of trio of So the next 3 picks, 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
are the 2 tight ends.
Yep.
And Jackson Dart.
Oh, okay.
So some order in there, I think. So then that kind of puts us at the 111 range. That's when we're going to start looking at. Let me get all my guys here. That's when we're going to start looking
wide
at
receivers.
the Texans wide receivers are a big one that I'm looking at. I'm not the biggest Golden guy, but I think you can start to take a look at him in that range. It wouldn't be my pick necessarily, but I think you could look at him there.
Would you prefer Higgins or Golden right now? Because the Packers, side note, Packers also just drafted another wide receiver.
They drafted Savion Williams. Very, very surprising there. Another one that really felt like a reach.
Yeah.
I'm worried that the Packers are becoming the new the new Patriots.
Yeah.
Where are they just not good at finding their guy? Are they not good at like figuring out who that wide receiver is that they need to draft? Because they've avoided it for so long, and they used to do a great job of finding those guys in round 2 and round 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have a lot of mediocre guys, which is fine.
Yeah.
But they just have a lot of mediocre guys at the position: Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton. And Tucker Kraft's a part of that group as well. Even though he's a tight end, he's a very capable pass catcher. So it's just a weird group, but you can consider Golden. But I think for me, I like Higgins a little bit more, especially knowing where he's going. And the draft capital isn't that far apart, even though it's round 1, round 2. Jaden Higgins went very early in round 2. So he would probably go. I'm going to have to really think about Golden and Noel. I have a hard time taking a first or a third round receiver over a first round. So I would probably still go Golden over him, but it's very close. Kyle Williams is going to be part of that conversation.
Over Burden?
Similar range.
Okay.
RJ Harvey is going to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of players that are going to be interesting. And at the end of the second round, honestly, I would be open to taking a look at Jalen Milroe. It's not often that you get a chance, because look, after pick 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5 in that range, I don't care about floor anymore. Floor does not matter to me. We know the hit rates on second round picks, especially in the second half, are very low. We're looking at or below 20% for the most part. So they're very, very low. Just give me the ceiling. Who has the ceiling?
Yeah.
And especially in a super flex league at that position, I would rather just shoot for the moon and see if something maybe sticks there. So once I'm getting into that like 2.9, 2.10, even he might even be there at 3.01. That's the range I'm looking to nab a guy like that potentially.
So Mason says Shedeur probably needs to go develop somewhere now, huh? He needs to get on a team.
It's weird. Look, here's the thing. I don't think as a player, teams would say, I don't think his talent warrants not being a day 2 pick. I don't think most teams would say that. I think there is something behind the scenes with his character, with his attitude, with the circus that surrounds him. There is something there that's scaring off teams, because you cannot tell me that you're evaluating just on tape and that Dylan Gabriel is a better player than Shedeur Sanders. Even that Tyler Shuck is a better player than Shedeur Sanders. Like, you want to say Dart? I have no problem with that. I would probably say you're probably right. But like guys like that, I don't understand
Dylan
how that's
Gabriel. Yeah.
Dylan,
Crazy.
like seriously, is this real life? So there is something, and look, character plays an aspect of this. You have to fit into a locker room, and especially if you're the quarterback, you can't just hide your quarterback. You can hide a safety. You can hide a guard with a bad attitude. You can't hide your quarterback.
Steelers wide receiver. So after the first day, I was pretty confident in Loveland being my tight end 1. But Zach brings us up. Is Warren now the top tight end with the overcrowding now in Chicago?
It's really made the tight end position be like,
there's no primary pass catchers or even Warren
has an opportunity to be I mean, maybe even the one there. It's Pittman right now, but
Yeah.
it's the one or two. I mean, I guess maybe even three with Josh Downs, but he's somewhere in that range. But it's with subpar passing quarterback
Mhm.
in an offense that we don't really trust. So I guess it would be Warren. But you even have guys that are interesting. Mason Taylor got drafted today. He's interesting. I really like the Elijah Roro spot. I think he's got crazy upside. He went in the second round. He went to Seattle there. So that could end up being a really nice spot. So we'll see.
So if you're wanting a tight end, like even a couple days ago, it was like, oh man, this is a perfect spot to draft tight ends around that 108
Mhm.
spot. Are you kind of looking at trading back into the second and picking up some additional draft capital? Or are you still aggressively going after
Those two guys are so good that I'm going to take the talent over the situation, even though I don't love those situations. Both those guys got top 15 draft capital. That tells us something. On tape, they looked like those guys. And every year there's a player that we're like, oh, that's a bad landing spot. And they ball out. Like I remember going back to Josh Jacobs. Oh, it's a terrible landing spot with the Raiders. Well, he was pretty freaking good there. AJ Brown, it's a terrible landing spot with the Titans. He ended up being pretty freaking good there. Like these things happen. So if you believe in the talent, and I think both of those players are very, very good players, I'm going to bet on the talent and the ability over the landing spot, especially when they did still get the draft capital to kind of confirm, yes, these are talented players that the NFL values.
Yep. 100%. Michael asks, with a contender, would you rather have Dak plus the 205 or get Anthony Richardson and Terry McLaurin?
Dak and 205 easily.
100%.
Easily.
How are you feeling about Mason Taylor to the Jets?
Yeah, it's an interesting landing spot. Obviously, we don't love Justin Fields as a passing quarterback. I think he'll be fine for Garrett Wilson. We saw DJ Moore have his best year with Justin Fields. So I think he can force feed a receiver and make them fantasy relevant. But it's his first year. He's still a little bit raw. He's still got some things to work on. He almost feels like a guy that is like still, as silly as it sounds, like still developing, still growing into his body.
100%, yeah.
Like still, like he feels like one of those guys where I think even in 2 or 3 years, he could be really freaking good, but he doesn't strike me as somebody that hits the ground running and is just the guy right away.
So maybe someone you're not super aggressive about drafting, and maybe a trade for candidate next couple years or something.
Yeah. Trey McBride kind of ended up being that way.
Okay.
Year one, you got absolutely nothing out of him.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, he's one of the best fantasy assets you have at tight end.
Let's see. We're not. I mean, you out of anyone want Dylan Gabriel to succeed. It's a very, we didn't expect to see Gabriel get drafted ahead of Sanders. Like that's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm a Browns fan. Like I don't want him to suck. Like I want him to do well. And so I'm not trying to like totally besmirch the guy. It's just this isn't a player that many people projected as a day 2 pick at the quarterback position. And I get it. Shador, there's a lot of red flags. There's a lot of question marks. So, and that's why he's fallen. But the point of that is just saying weird things happen.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. That's the NFL for you.
Who's happier, Caleb Williams or CJ Stroud?
Both had some pretty freaking good drafts. Probably Caleb Williams. I mean, you already have Ben Johnson, which you're thrilled about.
Yep.
But now you also add a first round tight end that could be elite.
The upside is crazy on the Bears.
Nuts. And Luther Burden, talent wise, is a first round pick. There's just some other things going on and some questions in his game and things like that moved him down a little bit. But I think on raw talent, raw ability, Luther Burden has it. So I think it's got to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But CJ Stroud's very happy too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, but the elite upside wasn't added to the Bears as much. But even like Luther Burden, for example, let's say even if he only gets like 600-700 yards in a season, a lot of those yards are from like short passes, and he just kind of makes a play off of it, which
Yep.
is awesome for a
free
quarterback.
free yards for Caleb Williams. He didn't have to do much.
Yep.
And he got a bunch of yardage.
So how far is Henderson and Caleb Johnson apart from fantasy standpoint?
Decently far. I would say Travion, I'm willing to take somewhere around 4 to 5 range. Caleb Johnson's going to be right around the turn for me. We're probably looking at pick 112, 2-1.
Yeah.
So decently far apart for me.
So Mason, as you can see, I am a Commanders fan, and even I was frustrated at the Cowboys not taking a freaking running back. What's up with that?
I mean, Javonte Williams. I mean, he's a winner from day 2. Now they could very easily still take a running back on day 3, and there's going to be a lot of running backs that are going to be like even a Damian Martinez, Ollie Gordon, Trevor Etienne. Like there's plenty of guys that are good running backs, not named Scadaboo or Sampson. So there's going to be a lot of really interesting names that get drafted. And we're going to have to kind of try to figure out what matters and what doesn't. But round 4 draft capital for a running back is not at all a death sentence. And once you start getting into round 5 and round 6, like that's tough to recover from. But what was a 3rd round running back 10, 12 years ago is now a 4th round running back.
100%. Side note, if you were a Javonte Williams manager, which you are, someone comes up and say, hey, I'm going to give you pick blank for Javonte Williams. What pick value are you looking at? Because it could be a prime sell high window right now.
I would love to get an early second.
2-1,
2-2.
So if someone offered like 206.
Yeah.
That could be a null.
Yeah, I probably would do it.
Okay.
I would probably do it.
Okay.
Especially if you can do it today before we find out tomorrow, because if the Cowboys end up, taking somebody in the top 10 of day 3 and it's, somebody interesting, it could
right
blow up
here,
in your face.
They could just draft Scadaboo and all of a sudden it's just gone.
And if he's taken tomorrow, he could be a borderline late 1st round pick.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would quite take him there. I'm probably a little more comfortable in that 2-1, 2-2 range. Yeah. But he moves up quite a bit.
So Emeka Egbuka, really fast. Brooke was asking about that. Just really fast. We talked about him a lot on our round 1 recap show. But like just once again, just kind of tell us how you feel about that landing spot.
Long term, it could end up being a very, very valuable landing spot. It could be very good. However, he's going to end up being on the Rome Odunze JSN type of trajectory where good player, we know he's got talent, but because of his surroundings, because of the other players there, it might take a season or 2 for him to really skyrocket up like we would expect him to. So it's all a practicing patience.
So Jason asks, given the way the draft fell, do you feel better or worse about the picks from 106 to the early 2nd?
I'm fine with 106 and 107.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about those.
The tight end picks are kind of sketchy.
Once you kind of start getting into that range, I feel a little bit worse than I did pre-draft. So right around like 108 into the early 2nd, I feel a little worse than I did pre-draft.
Because it's hard because if that is your pick, you are looking to start contending this year.
Right.
And if you are going to talent over situation, you have to go with one of those tight ends. But are they going to help you this year? That's the hard thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Would you prefer Scadaboo or Dylan Sampson to the Cowboys?
I would probably prefer. That's a good question. I would be fine with either one. I would probably take Dylan Sampson to the Cowboys.
Okay.
And then like a Cam Scadaboo to the Bears.
Okay.
That would be probably like the most ideal landing spots for those two guys.
So you are in a tight end only rookie draft right now.
Tight end only. Okay.
Yeah. and you can only draft the players that were drafted today and yesterday.
Okay.
This is a very convoluted way of me asking you to
Top 5
to rank
rankings.
yeah.
Or top 6. I don't know how many were taken. I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, let's do you have that up here?
Yeah, I can find it real quick. Was it 5 or 6?
I think it was 6 because there was one after
I know Ferguson went right between Taylor and Aurora.
Side note, guys, crazy amount of defensive tackles taken a day. What's up with that?
Oh, Harold Fannin. Yeah, so he was the other one. So if I had to rank them right now, I would probably I will go Warren. Actually, I might
Warren first.
I might now. Like, there's just so many mouths to feed. That's really tough. Give me the guy that has because it's opportunity for these tight ends. So I think I might switch back. I think it might go Warren first for me now. Colston Love, actually, right in this order: Mason Taylor, Elijah Aurora, Harold Fannin, Terrence Ferguson. I think that would be my order of tight ends.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be awesome if Loveland was actually named Peaceland? So it could be Warren Peace. Anyway, so Tyler Shuck, which I will never pronounce it correct.
That's okay. It's spelled weird.
What do you think? And also, let's throw in Chris's question about balancing Dart and Milrow. Thoughts on those two guys too?
Yeah. So all three of these quarterbacks, Chuck, I don't love them, but you can't ignore the round 2 draft capital and a team that might need him to start this year. I think long term, I'm very scared of him.
Yeah.
If I draft him, I'm looking to get out sooner rather than later with all the injury history. And honestly, it's just a bad team. He's just been put in a really tough situation to succeed. I don't see situations like this typically working out well. So I think he's a fine player, but he did struggle under pressure. He was fine when the pocket was clean, but under pressure, he didn't do super great.
What's his name? Stanford quarterback, huge neck.
Oh, Davis Mills.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of him.
I could see that a little bit. Then you go to Milrow. I talked about him a little bit earlier on. Crazy high ceiling. But Jackson Dart needs to be a first rounder in your super flex rookie drafts.
Yeah.
Like, if he hasn't gone by pick 10, 11 or so, I'm actively trading up to try to get a Jackson Dart. Do I know without a doubt that he's going to be the truth? I don't. These rookie quarterbacks are such a shot in the dark. But he's going to be insulated in value for a while because chances are Russell Wilson's going to start a lot of games this season.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to move back up, try to get him, see what I got. You can always move him again later if you don't believe, because these first round quarterbacks do have a pretty long shelf life.
Yep, 100%. Christian, thank you so much for the super chat.
Thanks, Christian. Appreciate you.
So let's talk again because we have people cycling in and cycling out.
Absolutely.
So
we can touch on them again
really fast. Besh and Harvey.
Yeah, 2 of the biggest winners of the night, I think, overall. Besh to the Raiders. I mean, he's bordering on both these guys are bordering on a first round pick in your rookie drafts right now. Even in super flex, tight end premium, like, they're bordering on first round picks. I'll have my final rankings kind of tomorrow, and then once we see where all the guys go on day 3, I'll have all that together. But Harvey, opportunity meets incredible landing spot, meets good draft capital. So even if I didn't have him crazy high, he was my running back 14. So I didn't have him crazy. I didn't have him buried either. I ranked 32 running backs. So it's not like he was buried at all. But he definitely wasn't a top 10 guy where you're like, oh yeah, I saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I thought he was more of an early round 4 type of guy. So this was a big jump in draft capital for him. Great opportunity for him to do something at the next level. So both guys, 2 of the biggest winners of the night.
Perfect. Really fast. Do you think that DJ Moore gets traded?
I'd have to go look at the contract. I could have swore he just recently, like last offseason, signed a new deal. So my guess is probably not.
Yeah.
But
I
we'll
think-
have to see.
I think they just really want Caleb Williams to succeed.
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, they have built everything around him, so they're going to make sure they gave that kid an offensive line. They gave him all the weapons. Like they said, we are going to make sure that you have every single freaking opportunity to be good. And you know what? Good on them.
Yeah.
Like there are so many teams that do their young quarterbacks such a disservice. And they're like, nah, we're going to get this kid everything he needs to be an elite player.
So correct me if I'm wrong, though. They did not draft a running back.
They did
Are
not.
they one of the targets that you want to see get a Scadaboo or Samson or something like that?
I think the Cowboys, I think the Bears, and I would say probably Washington are the
Okay.
three teams that I really would love to see a running back go to early on day 3.
Awesome. Okay, so how much did the Trey Harris stock jump by this Chargers pick? We talked about this a little bit, but
we did. I don't know that it's jumped a ton. He's a boom bust player, and now he goes to a boom bust opportunity. Similar to what Quentin Johnston had. Could he thrive there? Absolutely. But he's a very linear player that's counting on big plays. There'll definitely be some big plays available in this offense when you have a Justin Herbert, but they're going to look to still run the football, especially adding Omari and Hampton to this group. You have a Travion Henderson as well. Like they're going to look to run the football.
Yep.
So we'll see how many opportunities he has. I'm fine with him in round 2. You want to take him around 2.6, 2.7, maybe as early as 2.4. I'm fine with that. But I don't know that I'm going much above that like 2.4 range. So let's get to like 2 or 3 more of these questions.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so Dennis, what's up, Dennis? He
My
signed
guy.
a 4-year, $110 million deal last offseason.
That's what I thought. And I think he's still got a lot of money tied back up in that.
So we actually did pretty good on answering questions. So yeah, we only have a couple more.
Perfect.
So this question is: if a running back was drafted by the Bears, Washington, or Dallas,
Mhm.
would they jump any of the running backs drafted tonight?
Possibly just because of how I feel about those guys as players.
Yeah.
And I love the landing spot. So it would be tight though, because Caleb Johnson did go on day 3 or on day 2. That's valuable.
And it's a great fit.
It's a good fit. It's an offense that's going to know how to use them. And Harvey in the second round is hard to pass up. So I don't know. I don't know. I would have to kind of wait and see what the player and what the fit was and how we're like, is it the first pick, the second pick? Like, okay, then the draft capital between Caleb Johnson and them isn't too big. Is it the second to last pick of the 4th round?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty big gap. Then that's a full round plus.
Really fast with Sanders. I mean, he might not even be in the 3rd round range for Dynasty's drafts.
Yeah. I mean, if it's super flex, depending on how quickly he goes tomorrow and where, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he is really in no man's land right now.
And then Travis Hunter is in your, what is that, 3rd tier?
Yep.
Okay.
He's absolutely worth a top 6 pick. Right now, I have him listed at 4 right now.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him anywhere between 4 and 7.
Okay.
So, yep, he's worth a top 6 pick.
Mason has the 104 and 106 on a QB heavy rebuilding team, no running backs. Do I still take Cam Ward if he falls?
Yeah, you got a lot of quarterbacks.
So-
Penix, May, Goff, Lawrence, Darnold. But at the end of the day, you take the best player available. Now, you have to – sometimes there are adjustments that you have to make in certain leagues where if a league just does not value the position at all, then you have to make adjustment to what that best available truly is in your league. And so that's where that can get a little bit tricky league to league, because each league is its own ecosystem. So while I would say, like, and under normal circumstances, yes, I'm still taking the best available player on my board and I'm trading another asset. Sometimes there are rare occasions where Leagues just don't understand the value of it. And so they refuse to value the quarterback in super flex leagues, no matter how asinine it is.
Yep.
So sometimes you have to alter based on not just who's truly the best available player, but what's the scoring settings in my league? How does my league play? Then who's truly the best available?
Yeah. And then as far as Travion Henderson, that's a pretty big tier break from Ward. Even if you need a running back,
I don't
they're
think
in
it's a,
different tiers.
I don't think it's a huge tier break, but I would say that it is separate tiers at this point.
Okay. Finishing up, Judkins value jump still behind Henderson for you.
He ended up basically in this similar spot that I've been taking him.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that 105 to 107 range. And that's kind of where I've been comfortable taking him for a long time. And he kind of just ended up there as well. So for other people, I do think this is a value jump. But for me, it's just kind of where I've always had him.
And then side note, Nerd Score Plus.
Nerd Score Plus, it should be coming out Monday for your drafts.
Yeah.
So I literally actually updated every single guy that got drafted tonight, other than Ty Felton. I was down here for the last pick. But I updated basically every single guy to get their Nerd Score Plus. So that is your Nerd Score is the heaviest component of it, because we still want our film-based takes to be the lead. But it factors in things like draft capital, landing spot, college production, college competition level that they're playing. It factors in those things and kind of spits out a number that when we tell you, please do not draft simply from Nerd Score, that's not what it's meant for.
Yeah.
Nerd Score Plus, you could just draft from it. Like you could make that your big board. And I would feel very confident in you taking that into your drafts.
And then, so hopefully we will have we'll be on tomorrow.
We'll be on tomorrow. Yep. We'll
then-
do it after. It might not be right after we have our big nerds dinner.
Yep.
So sometime tomorrow night we'll be on.
Yeah.
And kind of breaking down everything in our draft. And then Sunday morning,
Yeah.
I think we might even try to go live.
Yeah. A live mock draft with the guys.
Rich, Matt, and Jared will all be here. We do our annual mock draft, and then we will release it in episodes to the Nerd Herd.
And then will we be on a live stream like we did this afternoon? Or what do you think?
Probably not. We've got a lot of our meetings and stuff. Tomorrow we have more meetings, and then obviously we got day 3 that we kind of have to watch. So I don't think we'll have a day live stream tomorrow, but we'll do something tomorrow evening, and then we'll have Sunday morning we'll have something as well.
Okay. And then last question. What's Tyrone Tracy's draft pick value right now? Huge winner. You didn't even mention his name.
Huge winner from the draft so far. I would say for him, he would be in the Caleb Johnson range. It's kind of where I would value him.
And would you make that trade?
Who would I rather have? I would take.
Because Jalen Warren's there, still on the Steelers.
He is. I still think I'm going to take Caleb, but it's it's very close.
Okay. And thanks, Dennis. But anyway,
appreciate it,
that's
homie. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in with us in this late night edition right after day 2 of the NFL draft. Like Pete said, we'll be back tomorrow with some more content. We'll be back Sunday with some more content. We are going to inundate you guys with all things fantasy football.